Well, for more on the conclave, we're joined in studio by Father Anthony Egan. Father Anthony, good morning. Welcome to Morning News Today. Just take us through the voting process. We know that for a new pontiff to be elected, 77 votes must be tallied for him.
Well, basically what happens is that every day from yesterday, the cardinals gather in the Sistine Chapel. It's closed off. It's swept for bugs so that they cannot have any kind of outside news anticipating what's happening. Each cardinal then votes for his candidate. He will then go forward to the altar where there is a chalice, where they'll put the ballot papers. They put it in, and when everyone has voted, there are three electors who basically take out the ballot papers. They read the name, they mark it down, they check it, and then they basically tally it up.
And this is all done manually, obviously.
It's all done manually.
There's
no high technology
that scans things and that sort of thing. It's all done the old way.
It's all done the old way. Literally three selectors who will, in a sense, first one reads it out, the second one confirms it, and the third one then sort of once again confirms the name out loud. And essentially what happens is that once the numbers are all tallied up, they then decide whether they have the 2/3 majority they need. If they do, then they approach the person who's been chosen, the cardinal, and they basically ask him, do you accept the post of Pope? And he has the right to say no, in fact, but normally he would say accepto. Then he will be, vested as Pope in the white vestment of the Pope. Meanwhile, they will burn the ballot papers, and they burn it in such a way that when it burns, white smoke emerges from the chimney.
So is that where the white smoke comes from?
This white smoke basically is when they burn the ballot papers, normally without any chemical. But when they haven't got a pope, like last night, what they do is that they add a chemical to the ballot papers, which then burns it black. Black smoke comes out. And they do this twice a day for about 3 or 4 days. And then they will stop for a day for reflection and prayer, and then they go back to the balloting, and they keep doing this for up to 30 ballots. And then if after 30 ballots no one has been clearly elected with the 2/3 majority, they have another day's break for reflection and prayer. And then the final ballot, what they will do is take the 2 top candidates from the previous election, and then it's a runoff. So in other words, it's a 50% plus 1. That will elect the Pope. It's never happened that way in the history of the papacy. Normally it takes between 2 and 6 days to elect a Pope.
To elect a Pope. Now once it does happen, once they do burn those ballots and white smoke comes out, what's the process that's then followed? What happens after that?
Well, the white smoke signifies to people outside and to all the news people gathered that there has been a Pope elected. And within an hour of the white smoke, a cardinal who's called the cardinal deacon will emerge on the balcony at the Vatican and will say in Latin to the people gathered, we have a new Pope. At that point, the new Pope arrives and his name is given to the crowd. He then just is present briefly, normally. He will not speak to the crowd. He will bless them, and then he will go inside, and then, he's now technically the Pope from that moment onwards. In fact, from the moment he's elected, he's the Pope.
Now let's go through the process. I mean, obviously there's been a lot going on in media, a lot of international interest as to exactly what's happening here. Now, what qualities are looked for? I mean, you speak about a time of reflection, a time of prayer, when the popes are all sitting together, trying to decide who's the right person for this. What qualities are looked for? What is it that ideally would give him that 77 votes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are a number of different factors. I mean, one of the key factors would obviously be eligibility to be Pope, and that could be any baptized Catholic male. But almost always it is one of the cardinals themselves who do the election, who is ultimately elected as Pope. Now, beyond that, what they're looking for is someone who can lead the Church. More often than not, then, it's a question of what the cardinal electors feel the Church needs at the particular time. So, for example, they might say, we need a Pope who will preserve the tradition from the threat of secularism and modernity. They will then go for a more conservative candidate. Others would say, no, well, actually we need to be more engaged with the contemporary world, we need to be engaged with secularism in a way perhaps unlike our previous Pope. Then they will go for a more moderate candidate. There will be other factors involved as well in this pontificate. For example, what we just saw earlier on, the issue of the abuse scandal. A cardinal who has been in some ways implicated in cover-ups or has not successfully dealt with the abuse problem in the church that we've had for a number of years may well find himself, down the scale of illegibility. Other themes that come up again and again would be questions of the way in which, for example, a cardinal might be implicated in the whole in the Vatican leaks scandal. This is another factor that particularly the northern pundits are arguing will be a factor. And at the moment, in the light of all of that, one of the real questions is, do the cardinals want a pope who will be concerned with reforming the administration of the church in Rome, the Curia, the Roman Curia, or are they prepared to just let that stay and they want someone who's more involved with engaging with the wider church, the global church?
A very interesting point that has come out here is that a lot of people are calling for the Pope to come from the developing world, because that's where we've seen Catholicism rising very much. You look at South America, you look at what's been happening there. You also look at Africa, and also somebody calling for a Pope of colour for once, because that's where the church seems to be moving. Is this a possibility? Is this a strong point? Could we get someone from there?
It's a possibility. I mean, with electing popes, one of the great jokes everyone says is that the cardinal who goes into the conclave imagining he's going to be pope usually emerges as a cardinal. So we can never really know how or why things happen in terms of the way the voting happens. Statistically, although 39% of the churches in South America, 16% is in Africa, so that pushes us over 51% being from Africa and Latin America. Add in Asia, and you've got a significant, maybe about 2/3 of the church is in fact in the south, so to speak. The number of elector cardinals from those areas is actually numerically less. The majority of cardinals come from Europe, from North America. In fact, the largest single block is still the Italian cardinals. So even then, it's not necessarily the case that they will vote on a kind of regional or sort of localized model. For example, one of the people that people are talking about is a Hungarian cardinal called Peter Erdo, who is well known and well liked by the African cardinals. So, they could see, for example, European cardinals and African cardinals might start the move towards Erdo. I'm just speculating. On the other hand, the age factor comes in. A cardinal who is young, like someone like Chito Tagle from Manila, who's 55, the thought of, well, if he's elected, that's a 25-year pontificate, potentially. Do we want that kind of length of pontificate? So the question is, do we want a short pontificate or a long pontificate? All those factors. And obviously they also pray, and I think we must genuinely say the cardinals do pray that the Holy Spirit will guide them to make the right choice for the time.
Oh, let's wait and see what's going to come out. We all wait for that smoke, whether it's going to be black or white. Let's see which one is going to be. It's been a great pleasure having you with us.
Thank you.
It was Father Anthony Egan telling us exactly what the process is going to be taking place out at the Vatican. Let's go to our top stories at this hour.